Hello, John. Welcome to Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. How are you doing?
Good. Clearly, someone's had their coffee this morning, rather
Yeah.
this afternoon.
So I was fighting with a bug on Mac OS, and I had the remote desktop playing in the background, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye, and it's driving me insane. It likes to throw up a screensaver now that the operating system's updated to the latest version, um, whatever the heck it's called, Monterey. So they added something to it that screws up your remote desktop connections with this screensaver that you cannot get rid of. And once it comes up, you can't dismiss it.
Solid.
Yeah. So you can only use your terminal for like 10 minutes at a time. And you have to reboot the machine.
I'm not suggesting this as a solution, but AppleScript is a highly unutilized form of just getting Windows and moving Windows around and doing things that you don't want.
Ping the screen. This thing,
actually, AppleScript is good.
It did it right in the middle of me using the computer. Like I was in there in a session, like I didn't even set idle, and it just like threw up screensaver on me. It's got a mind of its own.
You know, you're identifying, not to get on this topic, but you're identifying a pet peeve of mine, which is in operating systems and in applications in general, you should be very careful about how and when you launch Windows, because it could be the fact that people are clicking things and you appear right when they're about to click sometimes. And I know this is like a very hard problem to solve, but I wish applications would, I wish there was a mechanism in an OS. Apple has this to a certain extent. They have like a jumping icon sort of indicator. I think that's the correct behavior because you don't want to inadvertently capture a click for an action that could be potentially destructive. And I know it sounds kind of far-fetched, but I have encountered this myself where I've actually gone to click on something and it's on the window that's in the front. And then this pop-up just appears from an application. It's not like a website, but it's from an actual application saying, "Are you, do you want to delete this critical folder?" I'm like, no, stop, So,
yeah, this seems to be a weird feature they added to the latest operating system, and then discounted the fact that people log in with these VPN connections or VNC connections, and it just keeps throwing the screensaver in my face. And I tried what amounts to a registry hack to fix it, and it's still not working. So I'm gonna have to go in and tweak it again. Anyhow, off topic. I just saw it as I transitioned to the show, and it was it's gonna drive me crazy all afternoon now. Let's get some. Hey, Gary's Drive. The screensaver problem came back, buddy. Yeah, that's a thing again. I don't know if it's because I changed VNC clients or what. If I got to go in there and set something for each VNC client I use, I'm going to go mad. Let's try to share screen here. Okay, Firefox does this different. I am not used to Firefox. We'll go Hall of Mirrors for a minute. And I don't have my second monitor up. So this is our news show of the week, John. We've got some newsworthy bits here. What's up with Node.js? I've got some Node.js stuff technically.
Sure, who doesn't? Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah, Node is continuing its march forward. Pretty much, the sort of universal runtime for a lot of different apps. And so version 18 is now available. This shipped, I think, last week. And hopefully this will come on board with, GitHub Actions and other sort of runners, etc. I probably will. And they've added some new capabilities to the runtime environment. So Node is definitely, when inside of a Node application, you are beholden to what Node provides. So it's much like any other type of runtime. And so Node is providing some new browser-compatible APIs. There's one which is the Fetch API, which is a very popular way of conducting HTTP requests over the wire in a sort of async way, which is nice. And is seen as a very much an improvement upon what we would do historically, which is request and wait and have no cancellation mechanism whatsoever. So Fetch provides a cancelable because that's such a word. It is mechanism for doing sort of thing. Web streams as well. This is something that is pretty popular if you're wanting to get into being able to programmatically access data streams over the network and then process them. This is useful in cases where you're streaming large content, etc. Some other global APIs, the blob, broadcast channel, etc. They're adding a whole bunch of other things around. These are all experimental, by the way, but they're adding stuff around testing, which is great. And so they're evolving the stack. They're evolving the story around Node, which is great to see. They've made some improvements around the tool chain. They've made some improvements around other aspects as well. And so going forward, I think Node 18 is going to probably become pretty dominant. And yeah, just yet another thing to consider on your list of dependencies. So
yeah, another important thing to mention is Node is actually embedded in Electron. I've been talking a bit about Electron lately because it is comparable to .NET MAUI in some ways. So any of your Electron apps have Node embedded in the background, running processes on the machine.
Yep.
So interesting update there. Let's kind of switch gears for a minute. I saw this hot take during the week last week. So Apple has announced, or sorry, Meta has announced it is looking at allowing open marketplace on its VR platform, Horizon, and they announced their share of what the store sales will get Meta versus what you pay out to the publisher or the content creators.
Yes.
And there's a pretty steep price to be had here, and I guess Apple and Second Life have weighed in on this. When Apple is weighing in and saying it's too much, then you're really it has to be bad. So they want to give creators 52% of pre-tax revenue from items they sell in their virtual world Horizon. That's a pretty deep cut. That means they're taking 47.5% of the cost of the item. So when I read this on a couple different platform or news sources here, it's not a straight 40 or it's not a straight 47%. Apple takes or Meta takes 30% for platform fee and then another 17.5% for some other fee. So they've got it split into two different categories, but nevertheless, it comes out to 47.5%. So if you look at other platforms, I mean, like Steam is a good example. Apple and others take about 30%. So they're throwing another 17.5% on top of this.
What's funny is that these articles are typically written in, talking to the folks, etc. The fact that they're spending this much time trying to justify the price says a lot to me. I don't think this price will hold. What we're seeing here, when you see prices like this, what you're seeing here is internal processes at work. What I mean to say is that, you're going to have, well, it's a little bit of that, but it's also a little bit of competing teams within an organization fighting for their piece of the pie, so to speak. And so rather than having a unified front, I think someone at Meta should have said to these two teams, the Horizon is, I don't know what I'm talking about, by the way, but this is what it says to me. But is Horizon platform part of Meta? Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah. So Horizon is a virtual world that is owned by Meta.
Okay, perfect. So Meta, someone within Meta should have told both of these teams, look, both of you shut up. We're going with one price and we're not going to break it down. And it can't be 50, it can't be 47%. That is ridiculous. Now, it may be the fact that they've decided, okay, we'll do it for now. And then the prices may come down at some point. There are reasons for these sorts of things, but this is absolutely bonkers to me. This type of price, like just on the surface of it, just strikes me as like, okay, whatever. But I think then again, you know, they probably have market data that shows the only people who are in this app space are people who have high amounts of income, and so who you can charge them whatever they want, basically. But this to me is a failure of internal negotiation within Meta. If you ask, if that's my ignorant take on this, is like someone didn't really think of the optics that this sends to, you know, the developers out there. It's like, why do I owe this to these guys and this to these guys? Like, can't you just come out with one fee, and can't that fee be reasonable? You know, so
yeah. Maybe I need to read more, but like I don't understand the difference between these either. It says the MetaQuest store fee would be 30 cents. The Horizon platform fee would be 17 cents. So
that's 47 cents total. That's on a dollar purchase. That's the example they provide.
So what is the difference between the store and the platform?
That's why I said I don't know what I'm talking about. I see those two terms, you know.
Can't have one without the other though. Like like these are two of the same things. Like,
and to be fair, I have not read the article. I'm just reacting to it as you're presenting it. And to me, this is a failure of really getting this right within Meta, in my opinion. But that again, I am completely ignorant. Meta, please don't trash me for this. I'm just giving you my gut reaction on this. But it's like, really, you guys couldn't have come up with a better solution than this. You could have just, okay, internally, guys, we'll split it 50-50, or whatever. But let's not make it 47 cents. That seems a bit steep. But maybe they're looking at it and they're saying, listen, the only people who are buying these things and using them are the top 0.001% or something. And we can charge them whatever we want. I don't know. So.
This is like saying like the Google Play store fee is 30%, and then the
Android
Android platform fee is 17.
Yeah. The SDK, is 50.
Same thing. What is the difference?
I don't know. And again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I do not know what I'm talking about. So please don't trash me. So
yeah, it's a lot. It's a deep cut. I agree with the articles that are being put out that are kind of pooing on this whole idea. There was a quote in here that said, "I can't imagine content creators being encouraged to join the platform for being motivated." Here it is, 50% take. That would be motivating creators. Yep.
Yeah. I don't think you don't get broad platform adoption by sticking it to your creators, I think. Yeah, because they're not going to be compelled to build these things. Why would anyone build something if they're going to lose half of their revenue?
What kind of content creators, and I'm not bashing people in this example, but like what kind of content creators do you want? Like, do you want 16-year-old kids that have spare time during the summer to like create random items for the store, or do you want professional level like shops that are building this stuff?
I just have visions of bullies holding kids up, upside down like they did with me in school and shaking out their lunch money. It's like, what are you doing? You're hurting the people who are probably the most valuable people to your business, which are the creators themselves. But I'm happy to be completely wrong about this. Anyway,
this is where stores like Second Life and Roblox and stuff like that have really excelled, as they enable like hobby builders to sell stuff. But those hobby builders turn into professionals eventually, right? They don't stay hobby builders forever. And when they break out of, I made 20 grand over the summer, doing this hobby thing, to, all right, now I'm making $1 million and you're taking half. That starts making people angry.
But then you have to pay half of that to the government for tax.
Presumably. Oh yeah. That's so after that.
You're getting a quarter. You're not even getting You're not even getting a half. So
exactly.
Whatever. Yeah.
So we'll see how this turns out. This is a weird one, John. I know I think I know where you're going.
Oh God.
Have you heard of ambient notification?
I don't. This is so. Okay. Why is this a thing? Why, like, this should be the new segment. Why does this exist? Right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't need this.
So the argument they make is not one, although the argument they're making might apply to this page that I'm on that keeps popping ads in my face while I'm trying to talk. Jesus. Yeah. So the argument from this article is they are going to kind of ease up the distractiveness of notifications by making them more genuine to your environment. Sounds weird, but it's like instead of having a red, flashing thing on your screen, you're gonna have this thing that looks like an air freshener. That let's see if we could play it without it totally going crazy here on the stream.
Good,
but of course we got to get ads for the worst healthcare thing in our country. So let's see. Oh, this is not the video I clicked on. There it goes. So you have this air freshener looking thing that you put down, and it starts off completely white, and then it rises to show a red. And what is this little R2D2 thing? It blows up air on your plants to see them shake when there's a notification. There you go. Boop. It pops up. This one knocks. Like, why do we need this again? How is this less distracting?
Yeah, I kind of get it, but I don't like the idea of some device farting in the room just to get my attention.
I mean, we've got the dog for that, John. Dogs.
Yeah, blame it on the Google device now, right?
Yeah, that'd be a good one. It wasn't me, honey. It was the Google device.
Yes.
Yeah. Why do I need this to knock on a very specifically placed pill bottle? Like I'm gonna.
Right, I gotta take my echinacea. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I put the pill bottle exactly where it gets knocked on, so this thing can
just knock it over that way. Yeah.
Yeah. To tap my bottle. So yeah, that's not going to creep anybody out.
Is this a real thing, or is this sort of one of those
posted April 13th. So I was like, this is April Fool's.
No.
Right?
I meant like what I meant by that is this like a vision of the future sort of thing? You know how Microsoft Office put out those like visions of 2023 or something videos.
I mean, this is something they're quote experimenting with. So
okay, I get it. They're subtle. They're all right. I just this whole notion of farting in the room kind of puts me off a little bit. Not that there would be a sense with it, but it was just like, really, I think
like,
yeah. I mean,
more trash in the ocean.
Like, I know.
Like,
I think these have a better accessibility factor, if you want to call it that. Like having a visual cue as opposed to an audio cue is probably better for some folks, for example. So I don't know. I mean, I like, okay, don't get me, I'll retract what I said. I like the idea. I thought this was just simply blowing air into the room. I like what they're doing here. I think they're trying to experiment with different ways of notifying folks. And I think this is reasonable. I just don't know if this is like newsworthy. I'm like, okay, I get it. You're trying to make the device more I don't know, attention getting, context aware, that sort of thing. So, rather than just blaring out like, random noises.
This little red strip is supposed to remind me to take out the garbage. I tell you what, I am always going to forget to take out the garbage because I'm going to walk right by this thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I personally don't get it. I don't know. It feels
this is really neat. How is this really neat? Like, this is just an evolution. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I think people are, I talk to a lot of UX folks from time to time, and it's amazing how impressed they are by little things. And it's just like, okay,
wow.
It's just like, no, I mean, I don't mean to sound like a jerk, but it's just like, okay, we're just annotating the device with.
I had UX friends. Thanks, John.
No, well. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, this is like the guys. I'm just jumping on this guy's descriptor. This is really neat. I'm like, okay, it's neat. I don't know if it would be really neat, but anyways, sorry. I'm just being. I'm one of those. I'm in one of those ants. I'm in one of those moods. I apologize. Sorry.
It's the part of the show.
Yeah.
We dumb down things for you UX folks.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, but I mean, this page alone maybe is.
Yeah, I know. This is like a perfect example of where we need UX to really shine. Is like, get rid of these ads. You know,
stuff just keeps flinging up every time.
I know. Look at me! Look at me! Look at me! Yeah.
We've got the banner at the top. We've got the ad on the side. We've got the pop up here. Then the share thing spitters over to the side.
I don't know why you don't have ad blocker enabled, but whatever.
For this, it's really
every time you bring up ads on your browser, I'm just amazed that you're able to surf the internet.
I don't surf the internet that much. That's
the
thing. I'm old man mode. Like I barely use the internet now. I gotta move on. I gotta get out of there. Speaking of Google, Go developer survey. That's a Google thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it started off as a Google thing. So they're just like other folks out there. They ran a developer survey. The results are not super interesting, but they're interesting just to see. So Google, sorry, you got me saying Google now. So Go 118 recently shipped. We talked about it on the last show. It introduced the feature of generics to the language, which was a massively requested feature. And the Google developer survey is kind of like the Stackflow developer survey, where they go through basically, you know, what type of field do you work in? What kind of applications are you building? What types of frameworks do you target? What are the features of Go that you like? What are the features of Go that you don't like, etc. And so kind of iterating through this is kind of interesting, just to give you some perspective on things. I think Go is still in its infancy. I think Go is becoming quite popular, especially we're seeing it used quite a bit in the DevOps space. It's the basis of Terraform, the basis of HashiCorp, for example. They use it quite heavily, so that's a thing. It's the basis of Charm, which is a textual, it's sort of like a terminal UI framework for building really cool text UIs. It's used in command line utilities. The GitHub CLI, for example, is based on Go. So Go has its pluses. It's got some good usage there, and so definitely not something to overlook. And plus, programming Go is actually quite a delightful experience. It's very idiomatic. It's very function-based, highly concurrent. It's got a lot of things going for it. And coming to a Go is kind of like having a breath of fresh air. It's used for a lot of really interesting scenarios. And so this survey basically is a query of developers over the past 3 years of what they've been doing with Go. And you can see the trend analysis for that.
Yeah, it's like this is actually in a pretty good place. I program Go at work.
Yes,
76%. That's good. You don't want to see like it's my hobby language, like dominating this. And Go can do like everything apparently.
It's not. There are some things it's not well suited for. It's not well suited for UI. Like you wouldn't build a window application with it. Yeah, you wouldn't build a mobile app with it. I don't think.
Couple people do it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's mostly for it's mostly for infrastructure. It's mostly for building CLIs, building API. We at Octopus built an API client in Go. We have a Terraform provider for Octopus Deploy, for example. Just to give you some examples of what we've done. We've looked at our CLI ourselves. Our current CLI is built in C#. But we've wrestled with the idea of like, what if this was built with something else? We've looked at Rust, we looked at Go, for example. So, but just ideas, So, but if you're a company and you're building out things like processing command line tools, or you're looking at infrastructure, or you're looking at utility apps, just the simple module ones. Step out of PowerShell, give Go a try. You might be surprised. There's some things you can do there. So.
Yeah, this seems to be an industry problem, not a Go problem.
So yeah, lots of stuff happening there, which is
pretty cool, interesting.
Yeah, I always like looking at these things, like how are you using this thing? And sometimes,
what did you use instead of Go? Rust is like way up there.
Yes.
talking
Yeah,
about.
this is not surprising. Typically Rust, Python, Java. Well, not so much Java, but Rust, Python, arguably TypeScript, PHP, no. But those ones are typically used in those sort of same scenarios that I described earlier. So, yeah, the tooling is great. That's another thing worth mentioning. The tooling is fantastic, and it works well.
So I know you've used Visual Studio for quite a while, John. I know both of us have. And back, I think it was in like 2017, something like that, they introduced this like Omni search type of thing, like the single search box up here at the top. Is one, like, it's one of the best features they've added to Visual Studio in the last 5 years, in my opinion. They've made an improvement on this, which is going to be interesting. I have to really use it to say whether I like it or hate it. But what they've done is they've taken the search box and they've split it to where it can search through code or it can search through Visual Studio. So they've taken the other search aspect out of, I don't know if it's taken out, but it's augmented by this now, where normally you'd hit like Control F to find and you'd plain text in your solution. This is like an all-inclusive search that you can do within your code, and you can kind of modify it by member type and all sorts of things. So it's a really intelligent search. It's not just a plain text search like find and replace does, but something that's more intuitive and useful to navigate your code. And now that is accessible from that same search box. If you look at the very beginning of the animation, there's a moment where there's a dialogue that pops up right there to choose which of those two searches that you'd like to perform. So there it is. There's a good zoom of it. So code search, then it's going to give you things that are in your code base. You feature search, it's features of Visual Studio, which is by far, I wish every application had that. Most of the Microsoft apps these days do, like Office and whatnot. So if you're in PowerPoint, for example, and you can't find like the background color like property that you're looking for or something, you just type in there like background and it will start pulling up where to set that at. You don't have to like go through all the menus and all the stuff looking for that hidden setting that you're looking for. This does the same thing in Visual Studio. It's super handy, especially when you like accidentally close your Test Explorer or something like that. You just type test in search and it'll say, you know, Test Explorer, run unit tests, blah, blah, blah. Anything that has test in it, you can easily find that feature in there. Now we've got that power for code, and they've also hotkeyed these to Control T and Control Q now. So this again looks really interesting to me. These are the filters that you can put on here: files, types, members, all that sort of thing. Apparently there's some customization you can do here as well. So if you want to try that out, grab the latest Visual Studio preview and see how that works out for you.
Yeah, this is very reminiscent of Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code has this feature. It's a bit different in the way it presents it because there's not modal dialogues. And well, there are, but they're not in the same way that Visual Studio does it. It reminds me of those Commander utilities you see for Windows. Macs have this built in as well. So if you hit, Command space, it's the same premise. So I think this is a good thing. Surfacing out commands is a good thing. I would like to see that also extensible. I don't know if it is, but it would be kind of cool if you can augment with your own utilities, for example. I would assume it would be. Those are just key bindings at the end of the day. So yeah, searching against files, file types, etc. I could see different dimensions being presented as well in that dialogue. So
definitely.
It's got to be fast, though, and it's got to be accurate. That's the thing. Like, nothing's more frustrating than typing a search and, it's not doing a good enough job. Search is hard at the best of times. So,
like the one in Outlook always fails to find what I need. I don't know about you.
I know.
Type something in there and it's too fuzzy. Like, it will pick up some really random stuff. And I'm like, no, that's not Not
Yeah, what happens when computers guess? They take a really long time and they come back with the wrong answer. So
speaking of Visual Studio, VS Code updates.
yes.
Java 18 support.
Yep.
Not in the know on Java, but this seems very important. So because there's a Java.
Yeah, there's 18 seems we've got React 18, we've got Node 18, now we've got Java 18. This is the 18 show, I guess. Yeah, I've used these tools actually. The tooling support for Java in Visual Studio Code is actually quite good. It's come a long way, and I think that more often than not, people have looked at Java support on Mac and Windows through Microsoft tooling to be kind of substandard, and that's no longer the case. The support here is quite solid, and yeah, I've been quite impressed.
Java 18 isn't even GA yet. It comes out in March. So, oh wait, no, that was last month. My bad. So it just came out. So they're catching up very quickly. I'm falling behind very quickly as well.
Okay.
Why was I thinking that's next month? I don't know, but yeah, looks like they're adding a lot of capabilities here. For the new bits that came with Java 18. So you've got more power from Visual Studio Code, which is always nice.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be fair, I mean the support there is good. There's the ability to augment. So for Java, I'm going to go Java now. So Open SDK is integrated. You can of course get the SDK binaries from Oracle as well. It works reasonably well. It can do auto detection of installed binaries. It's got language server support, so you get things like IntelliSense, etc. So it's got all the niceties you would expect. I did find during the install there was like a lot of dependencies when I installed it last time, and I was like, this is taking a while to install. That's fine, and it all shows up in your extensions menu bar, and so you can uninstall it, update it, etc. There's a whole host of settings that you can set for it to control how it operates. Generally speaking, it's okay. It's not too bad. And to go off on a little bit of a tangent, most language support around Visual Studio Code operates in that same manner. Go operates in this way. Python operates in this way. C++ operates in this way. If you use those tooling, that tooling for Visual Studio Code, generally speaking, the way in which you operate in those environments is largely the same. Visual Studio Code doesn't really change too much from your usage perspective. The only downside is when those tools get unlinked or some dependency breaks, then it's kind of hard to kind of, okay, what's going on here? Something is wrong. So, but the classic is to fix your environment is just to uninstall and reinstall. It's a really nice environment, I have to say, for that. As unlike, and I'll mention it, Visual Studio, which you have V6s and you have MSIs and you have to install it. And the registry's out of date, and then look, Visual Studio won't launch, and like now I have to reinstall Visual Studio. Like it's a bit brittle, whereas Visual Studio Code as an alternative is a bit more resilient.
Each installation of Visual Studio has a sandboxed registry, by the way.
Understood. That allows for side-by-side, I would assume.
Yeah, yes, until something in that breaks, and then
I was just going to say, until something happens, like using the analogy of the Google subtle little features. If a plugin within your registry farts and it stinks out the whole room, now Visual Studio is borked and you can't use it.
So there is a feature in Visual Studio called snippets, and they have been broken for like I want to say 5 years now. And I think that is the reason why, and I cannot get anybody to look into it and fix it. And it's been like an annoyance of mine. So yeah, I troubleshooted that, found the registry, figured out somewhat what it was doing wrong, reported it, but that's as far as I can go with it. I don't have the source to go fix anything, so it's still broken. Anyway.
But no one uses snippets. Come on.
Yeah, they're nice.
Come on, man.
Way at code and you want to just shortcut some stuff. So anyway, improvements to hand tracking coming to Quest 2. Hopefully they come to Quest 1 as well. I don't see why it wouldn't. Maybe it doesn't have enough processing power. I don't know. But they've done quite a big improvement. It's pretty cool. what's nice about this stuff is you're working with computer vision, and it is doing a lot better of a job detecting like hand movements, occlusion, all that stuff. This makes, you know, games more compatible with this type of thing. Right now, there's like a couple games, and they're more demoware than they are games, so I use air quotes, because they have some pretty severe limitations. So there's some like cutesy things that you can do with it, but they're not really up to par for like a full-on game that you're going to play for, you know, several minutes, tens of minutes or hours. So maybe the next version of this will be much better. So they're updating all this without API changes. It's more an improvement upon things that already exist, like this, you know, fast waving, like speed of your hands. Is throw it off, that type of thing. You can see there's really good demos showing how this was kind of lackluster before, and they've kind of fixed the issues there. So yeah, nice improvement. Looking forward to see what people do with it. Still haven't played a game that like makes me go, oh yeah, I need this feature so bad, because the controller is kind of filling its role pretty well right now.
Yeah,
but still interesting.
So coming back to my statement about UX folks, this is the part of UX that I'm just like in awe of. So you UX folks who do this sort of stuff is amazing. This is really neat. Not that subtle thing wasn't really neat to me, but this is really neat to me. The fact that you guys can figure this stuff out is bonkers. You know, they're using features like LiDAR, and I would imagine, and other things like that, where figuring this stuff out is really, really, really hard. And so kudos to the UX folks on that side. I hope I've you know, saved myself your your flames, pitchforks, and torches by giving you guys props for something like. I just didn't think the subtle thing was really neat, but whatever.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'm imagining there's a lot of machine learning involved that they've improved on.
Oh, okay.
So this is generally computer vision it falls under the AI umbrella. And you know, they're just feeding it more data and learning about, you know, how hand gestures can be recognized, and where you know, the bones and all that stuff can be predicted. So one thing that did this really well is the Xbox Kinect. Was just phenomenal at this, and I was kind of sad to see that go as a gaming device. Their problem was they never included it out of the box. That's one thing that they're doing correctly with the Oculus, is this is a feature of the, you know, APIs of the device, so you can rely on it. You know it's going to be there. With the Xbox, it's like, well, do people have this add-on? How many people have it? Should I develop a feature for it or a game for it? Probably not, because I can't guarantee that, you know, the install base is there to even touch this stuff.
You know what? You know what's most offensive about this article? I'm going to use that term, offensive, is the fact that every image they show of people using headsets, they're always really good looking, or really fashionable, or really athletic. They should take pictures of me, disheveled, how I look when I play video games, and sitting a comic book guy, exactly, just playing VR, exactly, 100%. This is the images they need to show, because this is me playing this thing. And it's not so much the, I'm not a, I guess I'm give me the real. Yeah, give me the real me. You know, this I can identify with. Like, yes, this is the type of, you know, this is me. Basically, I'm gonna say it. You know, so
that's
it's just like look. She's young. She's really, like, she's athletic. Assumingly, she's real well dressed, and like no one is like this when they're playing video games. I think most people wouldn't dare. You know, but whatever. Anyways, so.
You know, there's like mine would be like a sub sandwich and like Cheeto dust on the other side. Yeah,
at least good points are made on the chat, where they're like, yeah, well, at least in the metaverse you don't have to, no one can see that, right? You're a super awesome person in the metaverse, right? So
he's also correct on saying that the headset needs to be lighter, which I saw an article, but I didn't want to pull it into the show yet because I wasn't sure how clickbaity, like, rumor mill it was. But apparently Facebook has a glasses like headset coming in the next 2 years. So that's still too far out for me to get excited about, but it it was more like drawings of what it's supposed to look like than actual like hardware, that you could touch and feel. But this whole thing is very condensed down to like a pair of glasses and a wire for probably power. So big change there. I mean, if you could put, like, with a gaming device, if you could put a brick of batteries in your pocket and like take a lot of the bulk off your face, that would be really a nice, upgrade from having to wear all of it on your face.
This is the 80s equivalent of the VCR video camera, because typically you'd have the VCR on one shoulder and then you'd have the battery or the recorder on the other. So,
yeah. Speaking of some actual useful technology, this is something that I find pretty interesting is WebAssembly, and we've brought it up on the show before. And for those of you that aren't in the know, WebAssembly can run on other platforms besides like in your browser on your client. It's actually
100%.
as well.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I've said this before. WebAssembly is the thing. The biggest thing that they did wrong, I believe, they being whoever came up with it. WebAssembly is the fact that people slapped on the name web for WebAssembly, I think, was an error. Because WebAssembly is awesome if you're considering things like plugin models, for example. And I don't know what you would come up like. I'm just here to be critical, obviously.
Yeah.
But I love WebAssembly in the back end. I think it's got a real legs in the back end, more so than in the front end.
This was a really like interesting, and usually these best of or top 10 type articles I kind of glance over, but this one was kind of neat because WebAssembly is still picking up notoriety and whatnot. And this author Renee went through and outlined several instances of companies using WebAssembly for their products. And they're not all just like web browser based. So there's kind of a mix in here. And I don't know if this was intentional to be Markdown looking.
Markdown-y. Yeah, exactly.
We all know how to read Markdown on this show.
Sure.
And she asked 2 questions too, like why or how are you using it, and like why did you choose it. So there's also like the differentiator between like client server side in here too. So there's like drifting in space, this one, OCI containers. I'm trying to remember what I read through all of these. This is like a containerization type of a technology that runs on the server side that's been compiled into WebAssembly. There's Hash AI. So this is a machine learning type of a thing that's running that also uses Python and JavaScript. So they also have an embedded WASM web application. So this is doing machine learning in the browser. And then I like this here. It's, why did you choose? I said she asked 2 questions here. This was an informed choice of Rust as our core programming language model. So they're using Rust to create this and embed some AI machine learning behaviors into your browser. So cool stuff there. There's another AI machine learning. Let's see here. This one is server side. They're doing security and authentication stuff with REST. Let's see, there's some other really interesting ones in here. Let me see if I can find. There's 18 of them, so I mean it's quite a bit. Another security. Here we go. SQL processing. So DuckDB is SQL. and it is running in WebAssembly, so you can use a SQL database in your browser and perform like detailed analytics in your browser. And they note in here like analytics have really been inefficient in the browser because there just isn't like a database platform you can just like plug into the browser and run. Now there is because of WebAssembly, so they've got the SQL-like database. So that one's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Yep. Here we got a video editor and renderer that can run in either server or client side, so it can run anywhere. So just the opening up of the ability for these things to run kind of across platform is nice. So I thought this was a pretty cool article, and if you scan through, it's a little bit more the same as you go on. Yep. It's showing the future of WebAssembly, and it looks like it's starting to pick up some steam with all these different things. And then there's a nice little overview at the bottom here. So she kind of breaks down like, we have frameworks, still not enough web client frameworks. The one that is out there is notably Blazor from Microsoft, which I love. And then about server-side WebAssembly, there's databases, securities, and aspect, and so on. So really good overview of what it can do, why people are choosing it, what's out there right now that people are using. Good little read.
Good. Yeah. I think a question that often comes up is, okay, so how does this replace or compete with X or Y? That's a natural thing for us to feel in the technology space, because that's how we view technology, is constant improvements over the prior art. I don't see WebAssembly necessarily competing with containers. I think that they can complement each other quite well. And I think that WebAssembly, it's kind of a Russian doll approach in my philosophy here, is that you can use WebAssembly and containers. Why not? And maybe get the benefits of both.
And one of these was a containerization platform built in WebAssembly. So that's all we've got for the show, John. But
yes, and I will now go apologize to all the UX folks.
I didn't mean to your words. I know what you mean.
Look, I'm just joking around. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think that we have a lot of work to do in a lot of different areas, and I make fun because I also don't understand. And I think that's where most people go when they fear something like, user experience, for example. Am I digging far enough into the hole here to stop digging? Anyways, there's some stuff that I think is really cool. And I think the vision-based stuff is insanely cool and very difficult. And I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. But I think that as you're exploring the space, I think the most important thing is being in technology. This is the one thing I will say with emphasis. Being in the technology space can be a little bit scary sometimes, because you're trying to constantly keep up. It's like you're swimming in a pool that's constantly filling up, and your inability to tread water. That's kind of how it feels, like you're going to drown. That's not the case. There's always opportunities to learn. Things get hyped up, and you have this sense like everyone's moving and I'm not, and I'm still running, I don't know, Visual Basic 6. I mean, if you're in that space, maybe you should look at maybe upgrading. But you know what I mean? Like, technology it's like, I have a term like that's been used in the industry for a while. There's what do they call these cockroach technologies, which is after the nuclear winter, what lays dormant, what remains, the thing that will always survive are the technologies that work. And this is why you see some technologies just hang around for a long period of time. And
first you go like after the folks, now after the VB6.
No, come on. Why we call that, because after the nuclear winter has occurred and all the technologies have swept through, and Noah's Ark has, you've got the great flood of technology that's gone through and upset or disrupted everything. People sometimes assume that means the whole new stuff is the way that everyone's doing it. I'm like, that is totally not the case. That's something I've had to learn over the many years I've been in this industry, is that it's going to be okay. Your technology will continue to run. It's fine. At the end of the day, they're all ones and zeros.
As hard as I've tried to talk about .NET and Blazor and ASP.NET, WordPress and jQuery still runs the web.
Sure.
Still probably the primary technology out there.
Yes.
I wouldn't doubt it if that was a factual statement. So
yeah, they cannot be killed. They cannot be, no matter what you do. So
you jQuery developers, you are the cockroach in this.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No?
Please don't.
No. All right.
You said it. No, I think the point I want to make is that it's going to be okay. These shows like ours are just here to try and keep you guys up to speed of what's happening. They're not meant to scare you, but it is interesting to see what direction we're going in some of these things. WASM is just yet another technology that's come on board. I think it's excuse me. I think it's really exciting in terms of the prospect of what it holds for the server side. Yeah, a lot of people I think what you'll see more often than not are articles featuring the client side. But that was my hot take on it, and I still hold that. And that doesn't mean that you have to immediately go to your boss or redo your business plan and say we have to do everything in X or Y. But it is good to keep. The reason why technologies like these come about is because they're trying to solve long-standing problems that have been around for a very long time. And so WebAssembly is trying to address that need for a componentized technology that is polyglot, that has tight security boundaries, that is able to be facilitated in a number of contexts. And this is an ongoing problem that's been around forever. This was part of the goal of COM. COM was trying to address this problem of, we have disparate technologies that are being built in isolation that cannot be linked together, that cannot be shared. Type systems are misaligned, etc. What are we going to do this, to fix this? And then we evolved to .NET or Java, and we have, a level up, etc. Then we go up a level from there and a level from there, and we keep trying to solve these problems. So, don't worry, it's going to be okay. So that's what I would wrap the show up with.
All right. Sounds good to me, John. I went ahead and tweeted that article out, by the way. I thought that was a good read. Take it easy, folks. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
See ya.